Welcome back to Open Line. We have with us John Harris, Executive Director of the Tennessee Firearms Association, talking about gun rights. So we've been talking about the bump stock regulations. Bump stocks were declared illegal. You have 90 days to turn them in. That has given concern to some pro-gun groups. Certainly how it was done. Others say that was a good idea. But let's. And
on that, keep in mind the way the reg is written. If I don't know that this is the case, the bump stock was made before May of '86, they don't have to get rid of it.
Okay, it's before May. So if it's made after '86,
yeah, May of 1986 is sort of a magic date for machine guns.
Okay, all right. Let's go to Alex. Hello, Alex. Are you there?
I am.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
I don't know if anybody brought this up, but my only concern is that there's, when the government changes something, it seems to me if you bought something when it was legal, that they have a responsibility to reimburse you for the expense of buying something that you're no longer able to use.
So what happened?
Right. For example, I think even in Prohibition, when it was enacted, private citizens were allowed to keep what they had. You just couldn't buy any more.
Now, may I ask, Alex, are you impacted by this? Do you have a bump stock and now you can't use it? I wonder, I appreciate the question. I wonder how many people out there are really impacted by this. If I bought a bump stock 3 months ago, I guess I'd be pretty upset if they banned it. But I wonder how many people this impacts. Do you have any idea?
The device is, before they were declared contraband was, $250, $300, and that you would put onto a gun that you maybe had $600 or $700 in. And so it's not a lot of money. But Alex is right. Our Constitution has a thing called the takings clause. And if you legally owned something, acquired something, and the government then takes it away from you by declaring it here contraband, generally they got to compensate you for the taking. They can't just come in and all of a sudden declare the King James Version of the Bible as prohibited and expect you to burn them all, at least under the way our Constitution was structured. So there is a takings clause issue. I don't know that that's part of the existing lawsuit, but I think what you're going to see is you get this first salvo of the lawsuit, and it's going to test this issue of separation of powers doctrine, which is
right.
And then if it succeeds, then ATF starts over, or Congress takes it up. If it doesn't succeed, then you got the takings clause lawsuits. So there's a good chance this issue about banning bump stocks could be around for several years before anybody gives one up.
And how many people really have bump stocks?
I have no idea.
Do you think it's a lot or a little?
I know, and I know a lot of people with guns, one person who has one.
So we're not talking about tons of people, really.
No.
But this is something that's going to be tons of lawsuits.
I think so, and had Congress done it, I don't think you'd see the volume of litigation. It's the fact that ATF did it, and they did it in violation of a fundamental constitutional principle.
Let's go to David. Hello, David. Are you there?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
A question. Why is the Belgian design fall rifle and all parts therein permanently banned? It's been banned for 30 years now. And anyone that's ever shot a semi-automatic handgun rifle or shotgun knows that all you got to do is find the sweet spot where the hammer, trigger, and shear releases, and you don't have to spend money or do any modifications. The handgun rifle or shotgun will fire so fast that unless you fire it a little bit too fast and the hammer outruns the bolt, the rifle will fire so fast you can't tell it's fully automatic or semi-automatic without a recording or watching the person pulse their trigger finger.
All right, I'll let you answer that. Do you understand what that was?
Yeah, he's got two questions really. One is ATF again has taken the position that certain weapons made in foreign countries, even if we have something identical to it made here, can't be imported because that particular weapon has no sporting purpose. Okay? that's this ban issue that's going on, and it's the sporting purposes concept. And I've litigated that issue once so far in Tennessee, and before we went to trial, the ATF agreed to settle the case with us rather than risk a ruling on whether or not the Second Amendment contains a sporting purposes provision, because it doesn't. But a lot of their regs contain sporting purposes language. So, you know, sooner or later that issue, if someone wants to bad enough, can be fought. What most of the manufacturers have done is they've created domestic companies to build the same thing here. Mm-hmm. And that gets around the import rule. Now, the other question is he points out that some guns, off the shelf, some guns with trigger jobs, minor modifications, just wear and tear over the years, get to a condition where the mechanical system on a semi-automatic, the idea is you pull the trigger, the gun fires, some things mechanically reset, so you've got to release the trigger and pull it again for it to fire. Some guns, because of wear, modification, there's a sweet spot where you can hold the trigger, if you can, just in a certain location, and the gun will just sort of, because your finger's jiggling a little, just keep firing. And those I've seen ATF prosecute people if they've got a gun and they know it has that tendency and they don't go get it repaired, so it can't do it.
All right, let's talk about what's coming up in the legislature.
Okay.
So you were there, again, with the Tennessee Firearms Association. You have a very, I would think, pro-gun legislature in Tennessee right now. What are your priorities going in? Are there some bills that you really want passed? Kind of what are you hoping for in the coming year?
Oh, our priority list in the Tennessee Firearms Association is to pass, number one, constitutional carry with an optional permit. And what constitutional carry means, the terminology, is that if you can legally own a gun, you don't have to have a permit issued by the state to carry the gun on your person. Now, we already have, we got this in 2014, so we've had it almost 5 years now, a sort of modified version of that where if you legally own the gun, it doesn't matter if it's a handgun, rifle, shotgun, or a fully automatic machine gun, it doesn't matter. If you legally own it, you can transport it, load it or unload it in a motor vehicle that you legally possess. No permit required. Okay? You're on your own land, you're on someone's land that gives you consent, no permit required. The issue becomes, do you have to have a permit, pay the state a fee, if you just want to carry the gun from your car 2 blocks downtown to your office?
Now, you've wanted this for a while.
We've been pushing this for a while.
And it hadn't passed.
No, it hadn't passed.
Do you feel like there's a better chance this year, worse chance? There's a new governor, new Speaker of the House, same lieutenant governor, but there's some new leadership.
There's new leadership. Lee said when he first started campaigning to one of our chapters up in Robertson County that he did not support the idea of constitutional carry, and we have that on video, because he said his sheriff told him it was a bad idea. Well, his sheriff is now the commissioner of the Department of Safety that oversees the permitting system, okay?
So it doesn't sound like
it doesn't sound good, but Lee came out later and said, like Haslam did 8 years ago, but if they put the constitutional carry bill on my desk, I'll sign it. He didn't say he'd support it. He didn't say he'd push for it. He just said, if they pass it, I'll sign it.
He wouldn't veto it.
Yeah. Now, in the Senate, we've still got Randy McNally, who was there the last 2 years. He didn't do anything to help get the bill to the floor. As a matter of fact, his Judiciary Committee that he appointed the members to killed the bill when it was presented by Senator Green, now Congressman Green. On the House side, we don't really know what the composition of the committees are at this point. But what we do know is Glenn Cassidy is now the new Speaker. Glenn's been there at least the last 8 years as a high-ranking party official. And he's never pushed for constitutional carry or helped us get it to the floor for a vote. So I think we should pass it. 15 other states roughly have it already. 30 states, including every state that touches us but Georgia, has permitless open carry, which is the equivalent. But, you know, the Republicans have had 8 years to pass it in Tennessee, and they've never even put it on the floor for a full vote.
So you're not overly optimistic at this point?
Well, I'm improving, because almost 30 House members, many of which have actively worked to kill that bill and keep it off the floor, are gone now. So we got new ones coming in. We just got a few more we got to get rid of.
All right, we're going to take a break, and I will talk some more about some of the legislative stuff.
Okay.
Take a break. Be back right after this.